Well, hey everybody, welcome to the breakdown. I'm back.
He's back. I don't have to do that line.
Oh man, hey, we're back with another episode of the breakdown.
How we doing?
So good.
How's Mama and Baby?
Mama and Baby are doing so good.
Here's the question though, not you. How's Big Sister doing with this?
Honestly, for the most part, really good.
Yeah, just throw fruit snacks at her and some Legos.
She's doing great. The only thing that we have seen that has just been absolutely atrocious is her freak out of like when we ask her to do things, she's like no, and then throw herself like Satan incarnate.
Yeah,
like demon possessed. I think.
Did that change after the baby, or was that?
Yeah, it exponentially got worse.
Oh, it got worse.
Like she would do that, but I mean, it is like everything now.
Nice.
It's everything. So,
can I do that?
Sure. I think it's cuter and more socially acceptable when a 2.5-year-old does it.
Yeah, why do they get away with it? Like,
I've asked myself that a lot. Like, if I did that, I'd be crucified.
Okay, so can we be honest on the breakdown?
Sure.
Okay, we used to. I was a pediatric nurse, and kids is what pediatrics means. So I was a nurse for kids, and so I was around kids all day, and some really well behaved, others not so much. And that skewed my view.
Oh, boy.
Right?
Oh, boy.
So we'd be like at Walmart. And you could hear, like, you know, when you're at Walmart, and you could hear a family, like a kid just losing their marbles, like a couple aisles over. I used to scream, beat them! Beat them!
No, you didn't.
Ask my wife. I don't think anybody ever took me up on the offer.
Well, that's good.
But, yeah, that there you go. So as you still have your bracelet on, if you're watching, you can see from the hospital, you know, I'm over here like, oh yeah, beat your kids.
Just beat your kid.
Yeah.
If you have no idea what we're talking about and you're new to the breakdown, first off, hey, thanks so much.
Welcome.
I don't know how and why or where you found us, but we're great that you're either watching us on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcasting platform. My name's Jaron Humiston. I'm one of the pastors here at Calvary Chapel Lake of the Ozarks. The other voice that you hear is our lead pastor,
Nick Pierce.
There it is.
The one that's saying, hit the kids.
Yeah,
no,
hit the
don't
kids.
hit the kids.
Don't hit
I
the
have
kids.
4 kids.
So we sit down each and every week, and we turn the mics on and record whatever happens.
Just like this. None of this was planned.
Literally, it is a hit record.
There's no script.
When the camera's on, we just roll with it, and sometimes we end record, and we go, that was really good.
And then other times like this, he's going to say, what were you doing during the intro part of it? I don't
How
know.
in the world did we get from there to here and then back there? That's usually what I think.
Amen.
So,
how was it? Did you watch or listen to the breakdown when you were gone for the 2 weeks?
I did. I listened to both episodes. I didn't finish last week's episode where you were solo.
You didn't? Okay.
But I listened
Thanks
to
for the
you
support.
and Dave. Both were really good, though. It's awkward being alone.
It is awkward being alone.
It is so awkward. I hate hosting on Sunday when Z's not here.
Yeah.
For the online campus, being alone, because there isn't that kind of back and forth banter.
Yeah.
And if there is a moment where my brain decides to not work, which happens quite frequently, there's no one to like jump in and save me. Like I just like, well, that was awkward and we're moving on.
Or you're like me where I have the back and forth banter in my head. And it's like, stop,
you have multiple personalities.
Yeah, multiple personalities. It was just really hard running from one mic to the next mic to like answer myself. That was but I tried.
People had no idea that I was gone because you played both.
Yeah,
Nick
they
and
did.
Jaron.
Yeah.
Makes sense. It's hard playing me, isn't it?
It is, because the hair growth was the hardest part.
Listen, you bring the smarts, I bring the looks. That's the only reason that I'm here. And I don't even bring good looks. I just bring some looks.
Yeah, so you're the show horse, I'm the workhorse. That's
Yes. Yes. That's the most accurate thing that's ever been said on the podcast. So, hey, we're breaking down this week something a little bit new and a little bit different.
Yeah, because the sermon Sunday was a little bit different.
Okay, can we, before we break that down, just talk about
what do you want to talk about, buddy?
Sunday?
So I'm for it.
If you were, as a lead pastor, I'm really glad that you're for it.
In case you were curious.
I'm glad we cleared the air, that we know where you stand on
Sunday.
Now
the listeners know.
The listeners know. If there was if there was ever any confusion.
Just tying up any gaps that loose ends, anything. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Sunday we had service, but service for us was a little bit different. We normally do a Wednesday night baptism service, and we decided kind of call an audible, I think last year when we were planning this year out, and said, hey, let's try doing baptisms on a Sunday.
Yeah. One of the ideas was when we were doing them on Wednesdays, which was great. It was awesome. Everybody that would show up for that was either family to support or church family,
Yep.
And so those that are a little bit more dedicated, like when the church doors are open, they're going to show up. And it's like, hey, this is supposed to be a big part of our faith. Like, we're given 2 ordinances from the Lord for the church: communion, baptism. Well, we always do communion on a Sunday morning.
Yep. So
we don't do a communion service on like a Thursday afternoon where only like the dedicated church would show up. We want to invite everybody to walk in obedience to those things. And so we kind of have the same mentality with baptism. Let's do it on a Sunday morning, see how it goes. And so, and there was the older gentleman that got baptized first service. He was the one that had signed up a while back, and he said, hey, I really want to get baptized. And we were looking and said, well, we didn't have one scheduled for a while, so we kind of created this one.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, let's see if we got a few people. And so we had 6 baptisms scheduled, which was super cool.
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
Filmed videos for them, did their interviews.
We're ready to go. They met with pastors. Like, that's a key thing. Maybe some people don't know is you meet with a pastor. We talk about what we believe baptism to be. We define that with Scripture, and we want to be on the same page there. And we want to make sure that they are a believer, that there is salvation there. Because some people they just see baptism, oh, I want to do that. And well, that's just an outward expression of an inward reality. So we want to talk about, hey, do we have that inward reality? And so, we do all of that, and that leads into Baptism Sunday.
Yep.
Which went a totally different direction. So
you preached on baptism and communion, those 2 sacraments.
Yeah. And we
very clearly.
Yeah. And it was kind of fun because like we talked about communion. So I only did like a little 10-minute sermon, and then we took communion. Yep. Which is the most time I've ever spent on a Sunday when we take communion. Normally, it's just at the end of the service, I'll do a quick little couple minutes, but to take a good chunk of time and say, hey, let's talk about the foundations of it, and that we took communion, I think that was very meaningful. And we did the same thing then for baptism. Mm-hmm. We took 10, 15 minutes, talked about what baptism is, and then we went into baptism. And I had so many people afterwards that came up and they said, I think one of the things that was done that instigated what we saw on Sunday was because there was just good, clear scriptural teaching of what baptism was, and then a challenge. And so the challenge, so what we're talking about, we had 6 planned baptisms, and we ended up doing 15.
15? I was 16.
15.
Okay.
15. So you were coming forward to get baptized.
I was, and I decided not to.
So we ended up doing 15. And so first service, I just kind of felt led. I'm in the water, and I said, hey, like, if you want to, like, if God's tugging, like, you've heard what we've preached. You heard what we believe. You know where we stand. If the Lord's tugging at your heart, like, don't say, oh, I need to do that sometime. That sometime is right now.
Yeah.
It's this time.
Yep.
And I, in all seriousness, like, stand up, empty your pockets, because I'm not paying for water damage on your iPhone, right? Like, don't be like, oh, the church baptized me, now I'm suing the church. No, we're not doing that. Stand up, empty your pockets, and come to the water, and I'll baptize you. And I was expecting no one. I mean, to be very honest, like, if I
awkward,
like,
30
oh, wow,
to 60 seconds,
lack of faith, pastor. Oh, okay, let's just be real. Like, did I think anybody was going to stand up? I really didn't know. Yeah. And but I wanted to throw that out there because I just felt like that's what the Lord put on my heart. So we did. The dad of the 2 girls that got baptized first service stands up, empties his pockets, and he comes up there. Forward. And so we have that conversation right there in the water. Like, hey, you've heard what we believe. You know, have you put your faith, your trust, your confidence in Christ for salvation? Yep, absolutely. Let's pray. Let's go. And so we did that. Second service, we had a couple people show up. Third service, we had a couple people spontaneous after the planned baptisms come forward. And then the coolest
was after third service.
It was after third service. So, like, there's probably 20 of us that are we're trickling out. We're making sure the lights are off. Like
we're literally walking out of the building.
Yeah.
Like
sanctuary lights were already,
off,
they were already down. And 2 younger gals that had came to church, came to third service, they went home. And by the time they got home, they kind of looked at each other and said, we need to go back.
Stood up.
We should have stood up.
Yeah,
we need to go back and see if we can do this. So they roll back in, and Pastor Sean's talking to him, and it was like, so we just like hollered at these 20 people still hanging. It's like, get back in the sanctuary. We got 2 more, right? And so I talked to these couple ladies, just wanted, again, making sure, the things that we want to pastorally, and get done. And I turn, and then I see my daughter, my 11-year-old, tears in her eyes, and she says, do we have another towel? because she wants to get baptized.
And I only knew that because your wife was over in the corner already crying. So I'm like, okay,
something's going on.
She doesn't need a towel for like turns into something really cool.
So we baptize those two gals. I jump in there. I baptize Ryan.
Fully clothed.
Jeans. Yeah.
You'd brought swimming trunks to do all the baptisms, then changed, and you hopped in the freezing cold water with jeans and a t-shirt on.
Yeah, yeah. So we jump in there, and then Ryan's done, and then Ash looks at me and she says, "Hey, Emmy wants to talk to you." And so Emmy comes over, and Ashley actually tried to talk Emmy out of it. And that's the thing. If we could talk you out of it, we should, even if you're our own kid. But Emmy's like, "No, this is what I need to do." I think if I can remember, this is pretty close to what she said. She goes, I know I want to get baptized, and I don't want to wait until the next time, because what if I die before then? Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, baptism doesn't save you. She goes, I know, but I know this is something I need to do, and I don't want to put it off. And this is my 8-year-old. I'm just like, so then Emmy jumps in there. We talk, we awesome. Pray, and we baptize her. And thank the Lord, because obviously I was a little bit preoccupied being dad/pastor.
Just slightly.
A little emotional. Very little emotions being showed during this.
There's like an extra 6 inches of water that got added to it.
And then Ashley was the same way, but you took video of it.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't have, we wouldn't have pictures.
I saw Ashley grab her phone to grab pictures, and I went, I bet you she's not recording this. And I'm like, I like pictures. I'm the video guy, though. I would always rather have video for everything. Same. And so I just snapped some video and sent it to you, and she texted me later on, was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you. I was not in the right frame of mind to even think about videoing it." And
then we had to call all the grandparents, because we had grandparents that stayed with us all week.
Heard about that.
And they left Friday. And so we called them, and they were like, not heartbroken, stinks that they missed it, but it was like so much joy for the girls. But it was like, we didn't plan this, it just happened.
Just know that they will always overstay their welcome now, because they won't want to miss out.
Oh yeah. Like, what's going to happen?
We're going to go home Sunday afternoon. Wednesday we'll shoot for
Wednesday. What's the Holy Spirit saying? Should we go and so now the cool thing, I think after second service, we had already had a few spontaneous ones with the planned ones, and what we had to talk about even in our own house was like, one's not greater than the other. That's just what the Lord did. We weren't only going to allow the Lord to work within our structure of video, meeting with the pastor, if God was grabbing your heart right then, like, we need to be sensitive and allow the Spirit to move. And a lot of people really appreciated that. So if it was planned or if it was spontaneous, like, you were baptized, like, equal, and that's all good. But after the second service, seeing that, because a lot of people said, like, I know Pastor Sean said, a couple of people told him, even me, like, we've never seen that before. We've never seen spontaneous baptisms. And so my daughter runs up, my 15-year-old daughter. She's like, "This is awesome," and da-da-da. Well, she ran into Cal Kids, I think, because my wife was there or something. And that's where Ryan heard that people were doing spontaneous baptisms. And she almost had a panic attack.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she had a panic attack because she knew, I'm supposed to do this. She knew then.
But there was all of this.
But it was all inside. So she didn't know she could. And then when she heard people could do that, that was like the Lord grabbing her saying, "Hey, this is going to be your day," or whatever. And so when we came out of third service, like, Ryan was like telling Ash, my wife, like, "Hey, like, I want to get baptized. I want to do this." So like everybody else, this is what I want to do, So that was kind of cool just to see the Lord even grab your own kids' hearts.
It was I told my wife when we got home, probably one of the coolest services I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
Like, not that the Lord doesn't move.
Amen.
But it was so cool to see in the midst of our schedule, our plan, the Lord just go, "It's cute that you think that that's how I operate."
Yeah.
Just a really cool morning. So
no, it's good.
Breaking down Sunday, since that's what we kind of normally do, but it was just such a cool Sunday not to talk about.
Yeah.
Not to talk about it.
And then to take that, so we had baptism Sunday. Now we're rolling into, this week's Palm Sunday, then Easter.
It's like the Super Bowl of our Christian faith.
Yeah, it really is. Like, then in a month, life groups start back up. Then in a month, we are doing our 21 days of prayer and fasting. Like, it's just, almost like the Lord to, like, keep leaning in to what I am doing. Just keep your eyes focused on me. And so he's just giving these, like, little cool glimpses of what he's doing, and we get to be a part of it. So
it's been awesome.
That's good.
That's not
the breakdown.
That's not the breakdown. That's
bad intro, great conversation right there. But that's not even
great conversation. Intro number 2 into the meat
of the breakdown.
So we went to lunch, and you said, "Hey, do
lunch.
you have any plans for the breakdown?" And I said, "Honestly, I've kind of struggled with this one because how do we we could rehash baptism and communion, but you did a great job. Go watch that sermon. Like we don't need to rehash it out." And so you said, "Because if you don't, I've got a great idea." And I was like, "I got."
And this is the only
nothing.
time I think I've brought the idea to the table.
Yeah, this is the first time that.
Yeah, most of the time you're like, "Hey, this is where I'm going. Get
except
ready."
for last week, because
you
so gingerly put like, "Hey, because no one's here to."
I had to carry the whole show all by myself, right? So,
anyway. So normally,
so we're driving back from lunch.
Yeah,
and I said, well, somebody came up to me at church on Sunday, a friend of Calvary, like a person that calls Calvary Chapel, their home here, and they said, "Hey, you mentioned something in the sermon. Would you ever like talk about that more?" And I thought, well, what better place?
Absolutely
so that's why, we're totally not doing that. Don't bring your concerns to the pastor. Come on, no. And so, so me asking like, "Hey, do you have any plans? Because if not, hey, let's go down this road. If so, then obviously I always let you drive on what the show's about or whatever." And so, so the question was, in one of the services, I'm sure all three, I talked about, kind of made not a joke about sin, but I talked about sin, talking about Jesus being sinless. He never backtalked his mom once. And the joke I made was like, he's riding his donkey and he gets cut off because somebody didn't use their blinker. He didn't roll down the window and, flip him off or something like that. And it gets chuckles because you just imagine somebody riding a donkey flipping other people off. Like, you got to laugh at that a little bit.
It would be funny.
But there was Jesus never sinned. There wasn't one moment that he was unbecoming of being completely holy, righteous, pure, godly, everything, right? And so this person's like, you talk about that, but like, what is sin? What's that look practically?
Like theologically, we do a good job a lot of times of explaining or knowing how to define and explain what sin is.
Yeah.
What does that look like practically in my everyday life, in my day-to-day?
Oh, yeah.
Because I'll tell you right now.
All right, you confess your sins first, and then I'll go.
There are some times that I'm driving to work as a pastor in the church building, and somebody cuts me off, and I want to tell them they're number one in my life.
Oh, absolutely. See, I don't
Flesh
like
just takes over.
With traffic stuff. I struggle with that too, and it's far more out of when the family's in the car. I will lose my ever-loving mind because it's like, you take me out, that's fine. Like, there's so much life insurance on me. My wife wants to kill me. No,
she's hoping that
I'm worth
cha-ching, baby.
I'm worth more dead than I am alive, right? She's waiting. She's gonna slap me when she hears this. But no. Like, it's like, take me out, whatever. It's like when my family, when my family is endangered or there's something like, that's when my blood just goes through.
That feels like such a good reason to be angry. And see, now I feel guilty for what? Like, I just get angry because you're a stupid driver.
Well,
you're just a terrible driver.
I just kind of smile and think, wow, okay.
You're just like, I want to protect my family. Like, I don't want my family to go out. I'm like, I just don't want you to be a terrible driver.
Yeah. Now take me out. Let's go. Like,
I'm never confessing anything ever again.
Whatever. And so on the way back from lunch, I was like, oh, hey, we're going to study hamartiology.
I paid. We'll leave the number out. Anyone that knows.
6 digits?
It's 6 digits. I went to a private Christian school that shall remain nameless.
Sorry.
To get a degree.
I'm laughing with you, not at you.
In theology and student ministry. Only to not know
what that word means.
Never once in my life have I heard what that word is.
He said that in the car. He's like, I have never heard that word.
I am now questioning everything.
Yeah. So the Greek word for sin is amartia.
Apparently. Apparently. I took Hebrew.
You took Hebrew, not
Greek.
Took
Hebrew.
Yeah, I'm Old Testament. Come on. I did take
I took Hebrew.
Greek. And so hamartiology is the study of sin.
I would love to know for those listening or watching.
Can we do that? Can we have like polls like that people could poll? Yeah, because they can't poll us live because they're not listening live.
Awesome.
But we need to like a follow-up poll.
I just want to feel justified. I want to feel
how
less
many people
bad
knew
than I do.
hamartiology? How many people did?
My luck, everyone. Be like, you didn't know that? A terrible pastor. How did you not?
Yeah. And here's the thing. Like, I'm going to stand before the Lord one day, and He's going to be like, "Hey, it's cute. You could pronounce it. You knew what it meant.
Did you do it?
Yeah, exactly. You were still falling into that. And it's like, Yes, Lord, you are right, but your grace is sufficient. So yeah, hamartiology, the study of sin. So I have a few notes to talk through this.
Okay.
Just to give a good.
I have 0 notes.
You have 0 notes. I have a few notes.
So I'm taking the passenger seat.
Oh, this is
I'm
gonna
buckling
be
up.
This is gonna be
you're taking the driver's seat.
No, this is good.
Here we go.
It stopped me at any time because.
I'm not stopping.
No. Because
I can't stop you because I don't even know what the word means. So I can't speak.
Yeah, you do. You do
this.
now. You do know what the word means.
Okay, I do now.
But I'm going to need that $100,000. No,
that's fine.
That's 6 digits. Bible college. No, I'm teasing. So hamartiology, the study of sin. Now, there's 2 kind of categories of sin.
Okay.
There is the sin of omission, and there's the sin of commission. See, here we go. We're down to 90,000.
No. Here we go.
All right. So the sin of omission is not doing what we should do. So if there's something that we should be doing that is good, it is righteous, there is something in our life that we should do, and we refuse to do the good thing, that is sin unto us. That's James, clear, right? And then there's the sin of commission, and that's doing what we should not do. And so many times when we talk about sin, we always talk about the things that we shouldn't be doing. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Well, I like rock and roll, so That's
true.
Yeah, it is true. You got in my car and it was loud. So... But we always, in pastorally sermons, we always talk about the things that we shouldn't be doing, which is good, but don't leave it there.
It's only part of the equation.
Yeah, so if there is good that we should be doing and we refuse to do that, that is sin unto us. And there's the 2 different levels of sin. So it's not just, I need to quit doing this, quit doing this, quit doing this. And we go through and it kind of, we were talking a little bit, we want to go back to maybe making the laws and all the different ways that you break the law and don't do that.
Yeah. Here's everything that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
In a list.
Yeah.
Now don't do these.
Yeah.
And your life will be good.
And that's almost easier to follow.
100%.
Like with kids, like don't touch this, don't do that, Like it's harder. It's a more difficult process to see what should I be doing that I'm not doing.
Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Or tell me what not to do and I won't do it.
Yeah.
But when you leave it open...
we always knee jerk, and I think and almost like a factory reset, we always go back to what I shouldn't do, and that's the easy ones that we focus on. But here's the kicker, is if we would keep our eyes open for the sin of omission, the things that we're not doing that we should do, if we tackle that one, so that means that we are doing the good that we're supposed to do, the sin of commission, I think, isn't going to be that big of an issue.
Kind of falls in.
Because if I'm following in the way I should be going, then I'm definitely not following in the way that I shouldn't be going. Right? And so instead of looking at the way I shouldn't be going and saying, no, just look at what does the Lord want from us? What does he require of us? What is he calling us to walk in? Walk in that. And you don't have to worry about so many of the sins of commission because it's going to follow through with that.
Yeah.
And
in student ministry, I remember telling our students a lot, if you're asking the question, like, you're already starting off wrong. Like, that's the wrong question to be asking. Like, you're basically asking, where's the line and how close can I get to it?
Oh, yeah, I totally
And you are
did
going to, like, because it's just our natural sin nature to go, there's the line. I'm going to get as close to it as I can. And not only, I'm going to lean over it. As long as my foot doesn't cross the line, but I'm going to lean over it. And it's like, you're going to fall.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to fall guaranteed.
And when we're doing that to see how close we can get to it, a good friend of ours, Jeff Carson, you build a wall 1 brick at a time. Yep. You're just kind of keep stacking up bricks. And then where the line does come into play, it's a little easier to cross. It's not more difficult to cross, So instead of saying, let's just talk about, especially both of us being former student pastors, sex was a topic that we would want.
It seemed like every week.
Every week, yeah. We want to be able to address that biblically, and it's like, okay, can I sit next to a girl?
No. That's
that's usually what we said. Yeah,
and
no,
student ministry.
No, you can't. But like, is it a sin to sit next to a girl? No, it's not. Well, what if we accidentally touch elbows? Not a sin. Could we hold hands? And it's like, and we keep going and say, okay, then where is that? Like, instead of, how about you live a life of purity? Instead of seeing how close to sin that you can get, like, why isn't our mentality, now I'm talking to believers now, as believers, followers of Jesus, why are we not having the conversation of how holy can I live? How much of a pure life can I live? Like, even now for us that are married, we still are called to live purity. Where again, for me, I think one of the biggest smears of the church and ministry within student ministry is we taught virginity, but we never taught purity. And so we found easy ways to try to get around the virginity conversation, but we were never taught purity.
I'm going to be very quiet right now.
Okay, so there's that. That's a huge, massive breakdown. Yeah. And there's so many kids like me that grew up in the purity culture. Like, that's what we called it.
Yep.
But it was the virginity culture. Yep. And all we did was, how close then, and could we get around it? Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep. It was just shame, guilt, all of that. So sin of omission, sin of commission. So that's good. Now, even the word sin, okay, so we had the Greek word, amartia. But even, you might see in Scripture, the word sin means to miss the mark or to forfeit. What are you looking at?
Nothing.
Oh, he just looked quick. Like, are we getting stabbed? Is somebody about to break in and attack us?
No.
I'm on guard, right? I'm a ninja, ready to go. Theological ninja. That's what I want on my door. That's my title right there. Lord, forgive us. So to sin is trail, yeah. Squirrel. So to sin is to miss the mark. And I love the analogy of like archery. So imagine bullseye is perfect and everything else is sin. It's not how close to sin or like, we'll talk about that in a minute, but all sin, if you miss the bullseye by an inch or a mile, you sinned. Yeah, that you sinned. That's missing the mark. You forfeited. Other words you might see is trespass, meaning to offend, or iniquity, that there is faults in you. Other words, evil. It's very harmful or wrong, or wickedness. That's ungodly or something that's morally bad. And so even the action and the thing that we could do, kind of we have a little bit more specific word, all under the umbrella of sin. But like if we're offending somebody, that's a trespass, and we understand that from the Lord's Prayer. Iniquity, evil, fault, stuff like that. And so there's those different words for sin, all under the same umbrella of we miss the mark, something against God. And so and then the question I get a lot, so we're getting to the practical, but I think you need to have some of this foundational parts of it to understand. One of the things that I get questioned about is there different levels or different degrees of sin. Here we go. Right?
Strap in. Yep.
All right. We haven't talked about this. Knee jerk. Where do you normally hear people line up in that? Where would even you line up in that?
Sin is sin.
Sin is sin. Amen.
There's no level. And they're like 9 times out of 10, that's you either have the far end of the pendulum is every sin is exactly the same.
Yep.
And then you have the other opposite extreme is, well, and you I think even referenced this on Sunday or one of the sermons where, hey, scripturally, if I have anger in my heart, that's no different than murdering my brother or my sister. But there's definitely a difference between plunging a knife or shooting somebody than there is in holding this resentment in my heart towards somebody. And so then you have this line of like, well, obviously murder's far worse than anything else. Like my hatred for somebody, bad, but it's definitely not as bad as offing somebody.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right on because, again, they're both sin. They both miss the mark, but there would be a different level or degree to them.
Yep.
And that's going to go against the popular thought that, again, sin is sin. Now, are there different levels and degrees? Absolutely. And if you hate me for this, read your Bibles. Right? Like anytime that we are conflicted with something that we say, I always want to go back to the Word. Yeah. And so a couple spots, Matthew 23:23, right? So actually we just like flip it open right now and read this. And so this is in the, he's doing all these like woes, like woe to you, woe to, and he's talking to all these cities. And so he says something pretty interesting. So, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, for you tithe, here's a pastor talking about money, for you tithe mint and dill and cumin, and you have neglected the weightier matters of the law, which are what? Justice, mercy, and faithfulness. These you ought to have done without neglecting the others. So we see a different level there between, like, tithing is important, but also is the faithfulness, justice, and mercy. And he's telling you should have done that. That was a sin of omission for you. Those are the things that you should have done, but you didn't, and that became a sin of omission because that's what you were supposed to follow in. And so we see Jesus saying there are weightier matters of the law. The law is the law. Now, if you speed by 3 miles over the speeding limit or 103 miles over, you should get a speeding ticket.
You've broken the law.
You have broken the law.
You're not going to jail for 3 miles. 103, you absolutely are.
They should at least tase you. At least tase you. I think we need to bring back lethal in law. What is that? Non-lethal weapons. I think we need to bring lethal back into that a little bit. If you're driving 103 over, at least a good tasing. At least. Right? Vote for your city officials. No. And so Jesus here is saying, hey, there's weightier matters of the law. And then another unique spot that we see something like this is in John 19, which we know is we're obviously towards the end of John, so it's dealing with his arrest and his trial. And so he is having conversations with, I believe it's Pilate. Let me turn there. Yeah, 19:11. So he's having this conversation with Pilate. And he's really not talking to Pilate. And Pilate says in verse 10, you will not speak to me. Do you not know I have authority to release you and the authority to crucify you? And Jesus then responds and says, you would have no authority over me at all unless it had been given you from above. Therefore, he who delivered me over to you has the greater sin. And so, Pilate, what you're about to do, not good.
Yeah.
But the one that delivered me to you has a greater sin on him, And especially because, Pilate, who definitely wasn't Jewish, not a follower of Yahweh, nothing to that context, where the Pharisees and the scribes, they knew the law. Mm-hmm. They knew the Old Testament. They knew the prophecies. They rejected the Messiah, and now they're the ones that handed him over to be crucified. So there's still both sin. Not good, but there is a greater sin. Yeah. And so there is levels of sin, and then people ask us, there's levels of punishment. Yes. Same way, hell is hell, but I do believe that there'd be a difference. Not talking purgatory or anything like that. Don't even get me fired up.
Another breakdown.
That comes from the Apocrypha, not anything in the Old or New Testament. And so, but there are those different levels of sin. But my favorite discussion when we talk about sin is the nature of sin, right? Don't you just wake up in the middle of the night and be like, I hope he talks about...
This is what keeps me up at night. I really wish Nick would talk about the nature of sin.
This is what gives you headaches, right? And so for me, understanding sin, I love these analogies that are kind of tied with this. So sin, the nature of sin, it's a privation or a lack of a good thing. Okay. That's what sin is. So let's talk about it. And again, it's always in light of the character of God. Mm-hmm. So we have to know metaphysically who God is.
Here we go again.
The metaphysical, the metaphorical, he's hurting over here. If you're watching.
Philosophy hat on. I had to take that class 4 times.
4 times? Did you really?
Yeah, as a ministry major, you had to get a C+ in it, and that did not happen.
That's
when they started talking about the Cartesian demon effect. And anyways,
listen to you over here.
Another whole breakdown.
Go ahead and email us if you want Jaron to break down the Cartesian demonic effect or whatever he just said. So metaphysical, who God is. God is holy. He is just or righteous. Mm-hmm. That's the other word. God is perfect. God is love. God is truth. And so sin is what is unholy. Yeah. Opposite of the nature, against the character of God. So sin is unholy. Sin is injustice. Sin is moral imperfection. Sin is unloving, untruthful. It is a lack of a good thing in us. That either because we're refusing to do the good thing or we're following in the bad thing that we're doing, right? Sin of omission, commission. And so sin is a privation or a lack of a good thing. It's a distortion of something good. So think of, because sin is real, but it's not a real thing. Let me try. Yeah. His brain just got hit.
Hold on.
Sin or evil is real, but it's not a real thing. Okay. Think of it this way. Let me help you with the analogy.
Help me, please.
Okay. All right. Sin is like rot to a tree. You can't have just tree rot.
You have to have a tree?
You have to have a tree.
Okay.
Sin is rust to a car.
You can't have rust without the car.
Yes.
You have to have metal.
Yeah.
That's breaking
and the
down.
Best analogy, I think, is a wound to my arm. I have a good arm here. But you can't have a wound outside of a good arm.
That's not true. I got one in a petri dish sitting right back in my house.
A wound?
Just a straight up wound all by Sorry, I'm just kidding.
Welcome to the breakdown as Jaron Humiston lies to you. There you go. And so
no, that's good. That's good.
So sin is like that. It's a privation. It's a wound of a good arm. It's rust to a tree, or like moth-eaten holes in a garment. You have to have a real shirt with holes in it. And that's why I don't believe in total depravity as 5-point theological system would say, because to be totally depraved, so think of that in the same terms. A totally depraved, moth-eaten garment would be a hanger. It wouldn't exist. But evil can only exist within good. That's why God created everything good. God did not create evil. He permitted evil, because evil came through free will, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. And so without that good thing, evil couldn't exist.
Yeah, because you've talked about that before. We brought it up. It was like you can't have evil without good.
Yes,
but you don't know what evil is without good.
But you can have good without evil, because God created everything, and evil, sin,
you don't need evil.
That didn't come until the rebellion of Adam and Eve, and then Lucifer, which that's a whole nother breakdown.
We're going to have to start doing series of breakdowns.
Yeah, because those were mirroring images of what was going on in heaven and what was going on earth at the same time. So the fall of man and the fall of Satan, I would say, are simultaneous. And now, obviously, when you try to read the Bible perfectly linear, but it was a mirroring of the spiritual world and the physical world or whatever.
Because when we read it, it looks like, oh, that was down the road or
but
some time away.
Until that point, there was total goodness, and that's all that there was. And so you can have goodness without evil, but you cannot have evil without good, meaning a person cannot be totally depraved. There has to be some goodness to humanity, because they were created in the image and likeness of God. So they have a goodness. Now, is there some rust, some rot, some moth-eaten holes? Is there wounds? Yes, but it's within a good thing. Not the absence, the total absence. And that's what total depravity would be. It would be the total absence of good. Well, evil can't exist within that. Like a totally rusted car is nothing. A totally rotten tree is nothing. It's decomposed. It's like, and we're not that. Yeah. And again, they then try to defend their points different ways, but that is talking about the nature of who God is, being holy, just, perfect, love, truth, righteous, and then the nature of what sin is, being a privation, and it's only a lack of something that's already good. So practically, what does that look like then? Well, instead of going back to like the Old Testament, where we're just going to have a bunch of listings like don't cross the road, don't jaywalk, don't flip anybody off, don't cuss, don't da-da-da. No, understand. So if you want to know what sin is, first you have to understand who God is, because sin is the opposite. Sin is exactly. So to understand God as holy, well, what's unholy? Everything that God has not called us to be. Walk by the Spirit and you will not carry out the desires of your flesh. Don't worry about the desires of your flesh. Be filled and walk by the Spirit, and you won't carry out those. Well, how am I not going to carry them out if I don't know what they are? Sometimes that's good, because our evil heart, if we hear of it, that'll almost like intrigue us a little bit about it. Mm. But instead, let our mind and our heart be filled with the Spirit, with the Word of God, with the understanding of who God is, and then we won't carry out those things. Yeah. And so again, it's far more about, how do we do this practically? If you press into the spiritual disciplines that bring about fruitfulness of our lives, the Holy Spirit will absolutely show you, hey, this right here, this is becoming a privation. There's a lack of a good thing that I want in your life here. You because again, we're not trying to avoid sin. Hear me out. Because a lot of times that's what we think as Christians. We're not trying to avoid sin. We're trying to press into who God is. You have to change your focus of it. Because if you're just trying to avoid sin, well, you still don't have a North Star. You're just trying to run away from
part of the puzzle.
It's only part of the puzzle. But if you have the North Star and okay, it's not about just trying to say no to sin. It's trying to say yes to God.
Because so many people think, well, if I just say no to sin, then that is saying yes. It's like, no, that's only halfway.
Absolutely.
Because I still have to choose to step into the yes.
And there's far more power in saying yes to God than there is in saying no to sin.
And that's almost then, oh, that's good. Because I used to tell our students this all the time. So going back to the line analogy, I would say the line, turn around and run as far away as possible. You should be as far away from whatever that line is.
Yeah.
And that's bad theology in every way. But not trying to figure out how close you can get to something, because if I'm trying to get away from how far that sin is, then by saying yes, I'm getting closer to Jesus. Like I'm allowing him to change my mind, my focus. I'm looking and being more like Christ than I am like the world.
So for me, like going back to the high school, middle school ministry days, when we would talk about sex, I would have that same kind of topic, but it's also, we have to understand what sex is biblically and through the eyes of God. If you understand the goodness of what it is, then you will know what the privations are of it.
We used to say, here's the perversion of it.
Yes,
like,
that's
here's
the
goodness, here's the perversion of it.
That's what the word perversion, the twisting of it. And so, okay, so can I cuss? Well, let's talk about what is the goodness of language, and that God used language to communicate with us. Like, language was God's idea, not ours. In the beginning, God created, and how did he create? And God said. So language is God's plan, his idea. It's how he communicates with us. So it was always God's idea.
Yeah.
But how we use the good thing that he gave us, there can be privations in there. And so if we attack one another with our words, two things, that is what grieving the Spirit is, Ephesians, I think, chapter 4. And we're also smearing the image and the likeness of God that we are created in. Let alone if we go now in the covenant of salvation, that, now the Holy Spirit is indwelling you. So if I attack you with my words, I'm not only smearing the image and the likeness that you're created in, I'm smearing the Holy Spirit that is inside of you. And it's like there's a privation in how we use our words if we attack one another in that. Now, that's just language. Now you can broaden it to communication. So when you roll down your window and you want to do a hand gesture, even though that is a cultural thing that we've brought, the cultural symbol is still based in reality, just like communion, just like baptism, symbolism, but based in reality. The reality of that symbol is hatred communication to one another, that we want to attack one another in that. And that is a privation of the good thing that God gave us. So food's a wonderful, glorious thing that he gave us.
Praise the Lord.
I think my favorite passage of the Bible is when Noah got off the ark, they were allowed to eat meat. Amen. Yeah, they were vegetarians up into the Noah's ark. So he gets off the ark and he's allowed to eat meat. Praise the Lord, right?
It's the greatest day in all creation.
Absolutely, because he made a sacrifice to the Lord after the ark, and I fully believe that was a smoker. Yeah, I'm from Kansas City. He was smoking some ribs. He had a brisket right there, and he said, Lord, this smells really good. Could I
This is
partake?
description, not prescription, right?
Maybe.
This feels like a stretch if you start saying this is not of the Lord.
But food is a good thing that he gave us. Now, if we make it a God, we make it a comfort, we make it a thing to fill the woundings that we have because of sin or insecurities, like there's a privation there because you're taking the good thing that God gave and you are perverting it and trying to make it be what it was never meant to be.
Yeah.
We do this with ministry.
Oh boy,
here we go. For us in our ministries, we were never meant to get from our ministries what was only supposed to come from God. Our identity, our value, our purpose, right? So many pastors don't know who they are.
Because they're tied in.
Because they're tied into it. And in the moment that they lose their pulpit, and they lose their platform, they lose their position, they lose all self-identity because they found that in the ministry. So the good thing that he has called us to be pastors, we could take and twist it, pervert it, and it'll cause a privation in us because we now not getting our comfort and our fulfillment and our purpose from God and our identity in Christ, we're getting it from our people. And we are mishandling, is a softer word to use, our ministries to give us what it was never designed to do. And so all through, I think, life, if we looked at it, what is the good in this that God gave us and the reason for it, and how am I perverting it? That would be a really strong word, but let's just go with it, because when have I ever not, how are we molesting the good thing that God gave because we want it to give us the pleasure of whatever, you know what I mean? Of our lust, our desires, you know, and that's a very strong word. I know what I'm saying, but that's what we do. So instead, we need to look at the good that God gave us, the reason for it, find where am I perverting that? Where's the privation, and how do I realign and run to Jesus in that? He gives us the grace to run from our privation of whatever it is and run. That's what faith is running to God in the fullness of what he gave us and the reason he gave it to us. So,
and what always seems to be the hardest is we, by design, tend to be a black and white creation.
Yeah.
We want what can I do? What can I do?
Oh yeah.
What is permitted? What is not permitted? Like we just want. Let's not even say we. That's what I want. Yeah. My life would be so much easier if someone would tell me, "Hey, here's the good things, or here are the things that make you a good dad.
Yeah.
Do these things and don't do these things. Here are the things." Same thing as a husband, as a pastor. Like it'd be so much easier if somebody just say, "Here is a 12,000 page book."
Yeah.
By the time you get to the end of it, you will know how to be a good by these things.
Yeah.
Instead of somebody saying, "You figure it out."
Yeah. And think of like how many times, like I would love to. I'm sure somebody's done this study. Barna, if you're watching, Barna Research Group.
I'm sure they are. We have such a far reach.
Is it Kinnaman? Isn't that the guy that kind of leads that? Kinnaman? I think
George
so.
Barna is the
George Barna, and there's a David Kinnaman is another guy that's a part of that.
Okay.
David Kinnaman, here you go, buddy. How, like, if you polled 100 churches full of people, if you poll, like, get a really good mix of a lot of people, not just like 10, like what does a good Christian look like? What would you expect to see in their life? How many would it come up to be the things, this is what you should do? They should go to church, they should read their Bible, they should be praying, they should be serving, and it's like, who's going to say he needs to be spirit-filled? He needs to be obedient to the Lord. Because, like, if it's all tied to our spiritual disciplines, then, like, explain a missionary then to me. You know, if being a good Christian is going to church, like, there's missionaries, there's no good church for them to go to. Like, we had JJ and Witt. They're going to go to Mexico eventually. Shout out to you guys. There's not a church down there. That's the goal for them to go to.
Them to establish
so
a church.
Am I going to ride them in 3 months and be like, hey, I heard you haven't been to church because you're in Mexico trying to be missionaries and plant a church.
Tell people about Jesus?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and so where it has to be, where are we leaning into our relationship with the Lord? Where spiritual disciplines are good, but those are never meant to be the end goal. Those are, if anything, the commencement of our relationship with the Lord, that he wants to see spirit-controlling, fruitful, effective lives, walking in obedience to him, not, oh, I'm checking the marks of the good things that I've done, and I'm not doing the bad things that I'm not supposed to do, and I'm a good little Christian. And it's like, that's not biblical Christianity at all.
And that doesn't seem, not only does it not seem, it isn't a joy-filled life.
It's definitely not exciting, at least the least of it.
No.
You know what I mean?
Easy? Yes. And all essence of the word, it's definitely the easiest.
Yeah.
But to lean into those things, I don't like leaning into hard things.
Yeah.
I don't like, I'm very much a non-confrontational sort of person. And then when I become confrontation, that's a whole nother breakdown that we'll never probably get to. But, you know, it's just like, I don't like confrontation, but some of the best growth, some of the times that I've learned the most about who the Lord is, has come from those.
Yeah. There's a book in the Hub by a guy named Shane Claiborne. Ordinary Radical, right? And I love this book. I used to probably read it once, twice a year. And every time I did, my wife's like, oh, great, here we go. You know, because he just I'd get fired up hearing his story and his testimony. And part of what he talked about, like, he grew up in East Tennessee, and he had his life.
He's got a story.
He does.
He has got a story.
You know, and so in high school, he was voted prom king. He was popular. He had his life together.
He was the definition of
just a good kid,
Yep.
You know. And so, but he talks about, like, you hear all these testimonies, like, go back to baptism, like, we have all these big broken testimonies, and then they come to the Lord and their life's good. He goes, my life was great. I was popular. I was, you know, he goes, I came to Jesus and Jesus wrecked my life. He goes, I was on the path. He goes, I wanted to be an anesthesiologist, like just put people to sleep, make a lot of money. This is going to be awesome. He goes, but then I met Jesus, and Jesus wrecked my life. And so in the same breath, sometimes if your life is so ordered and put together and nice and neat, I mean, hate to break it to you, like that's what the Pharisees did. Like when he's saying, hey, you tithe mint and dill, they had these perfect little orderly gardens that's what they thought it was all about. And it was like, nope, you give your life to Jesus. He might wreck your perfect little cookie cutter, wife, 2 kids, not that he would destroy your marriage. I'm just saying that cookie cutter look of what the American life is supposed to be. And it's like, yeah, Jesus isn't about you having the perfect American dream. Sorry. He's not, and he's going to wreck our lives in that. And sometimes for me, I think he puts a holy dissatisfaction in that for us. And that's a personal part of my story is, I'm a youth pastor of a good sized church, like doing great things. Like it was awesome. Like I could have just stayed and kept doing that. But God, I think, put in me a holy dissatisfaction of like, and I felt like he revealed to me like, hey, youth ministry has a expiration, shelf life, like a organic avocado. But if I would have been comfortable with my life, and if he never would have wrecked that in me, I never would have stepped out in faith to the next thing that he had for me. Yeah. And that's the part is he's not interested in my comfort, but in my character. And it's not just out of sin, but even when we get comfortable and complacent in good Christianity, he'll say, okay, good. That was just a building phase for the next thing I want to do for your life. Like, Lord, when are you going to be done working in my life?
When you die.
When you die, right? And your heart's still beating, so let's go, right? And that's where, again, it's not just about, so when we talk about the topic of sin, it's not just don't do these things. Lean into, that's why we're talking about the fullness. And there's even times that we could be doing really good things, but the Lord's just going to come and wreck us more because why? He wants us to grow in who we are to be, not just what are we supposed to do, but who are we to be in him and letting him be our full identity and what that looks like. And so like, if your life's comfortable as a Christian, that might be more concerning.
That if your life's falling apart,
air quotes. Air quotes. And not for sinful reasons, but he just like,
can't catch a break.
Yeah, you just can't catch a break. There's this diagnosis, this broke down, and this is happening, and my kids are struggling, and I just don't even know where to turn. Yeah, you do. Don't lie. You know exactly where to turn to. Turn to Jesus in this. But like, understand that God's permitting and allowing these things to happen in your life. Why? Because he has something bigger and greater in mind. And it's not just to make sure you sit in a pew or a chair like we have every Sunday, maybe attend a life group, serve cow kids, and maybe invite a friend to Easter Sunday. Yeah. Like, that's not the American dream of Christianity. That is not what Jesus had in mind. No. I have to write down that line. That was good. That just came.
It's a good thing we're recording this. Because you can go back and be like, how did I say that word
doesn't care about your American dream. Goodness. I wonder how many emails. What's the over-under of emails I'm going to get on that one?
Let's see.
Not that we would gamble on something like that.
It's Tuesday.
This thing goes live
6
today.
It'll be live in a couple hours. $1 million.
Yeah. $1 million. $1 million. So just encourage you, like if you're listening thinking, okay, but I still don't know. Can I flip off the guy at the red light?
No.
What would Jesus do? Overly commercialized. And here's the thing. We know what Jesus would do. And there's the whole nother movement that he would love first. And I love that. Yep. Like, the question isn't what would Jesus do? We know what Jesus would do. The question is, what the heck are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, we know what Jesus would do. We know that he's our example. We know what he has called of us. You know, what's that? Micah 6:8. You know what he has required of you. It's almost a reminder. This isn't like hot off the press. We don't know. No, seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Micah 6:8. Like, come on. You know what he has called. And so what will you do? That's the question. Put that on a bracelet. Put that on a shirt. Yeah. Let's sell millions of that. What are you going to do about how you're going to live life in response to the gospel and to who Christ is in your life?
We need a sound effects board after.
Welcome to the breakdown.
Dang, that's good.
Wow.
That's challenging, but it's good.
It hurts.
It does, because there's a proactive action
Yeah.
required, and what are you going to do with it? Not what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this very flippantly. There is no action in that.
Yeah.
We know what Jesus would do. Open up the Bible. We see what he did.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
Are you going to theologically beat somebody over the head with it? Or are you going to love them?
Yeah.
Are you going to try to save them to Jesus?
So
or are
true.
you going to live out life with them?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, so true. And like think of the most radical Christian. Not radical in the sense of like culty or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Think of the most
Still
radical
actually Christianity.
Yeah, still Christian. Like think of the most radical person, right?
Yep.
Think about that person. When we are all into heaven, I fully believe Jesus is going to say that was normative biblical.
Yep.
Like that's you guys saw that as radical. Like I was still trying to do a work in that person's life. Like they haven't even arrived yet.
Yeah.
And you guys were seeing that as radical. No, that was basic, fundamental, biblical Christianity.
Thing I'm realizing as I get older, the things when I was younger or even now that I would have considered quote unquote radical faith.
Yeah.
Like if you go to the David Platt book, Radical Faith, that I would think were radical, crazy, almost borderline cultish, like they drank the Kool-Aid. Like I'm beginning to find myself in those places of like, what if it's radical because we've stripped away everything that God wanted the church to be, that God wanted a Christian to be. We've manipulated it, we've watered it down to be this kind of comfortable, complacent Christianity where, you know, as long as it doesn't inconvenience us too much, whether financially or in our time, we're okay. As long as it doesn't do too, like, and you just look at, like, when you said that, I have two people's names that I think of.
Yeah.
Shane Claiborne was one of them, and Billy Graham was the other.
Yeah.
Walking into stadiums and just telling people about Jesus.
Just letting it go.
Yeah, just letting it go. It's like, especially when you go to the Billy Graham and the years he was alive and how almost confrontational and weird that was to pack out stadiums and tell people about Jesus. And not like a conferencey sort of way, but just preach the gospel and salvation. That is radical. Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. And I'm going, oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the Christian I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to be like Jesus. Like, that is someone who cared so little about himself and his identity because he was so found in who Jesus was that it directed and dictated every aspect of his life.
Every aspect. And Billy Graham, one of the only dudes this side of glory and the other side of glory, because he's passed, that is yet to have like any kind of massive accusation about him or his lifestyle.
That's a whole other breakdown.
But you were talking about watering down, and you mentioned Claiborne. He, I think in that book, he talks about like that's what we've done to the blood of Jesus. So, like we've watered it down to be VBS Kool-Aid, and it's like, so it'd be more palatable to us.
So it's not as strong.
Yeah, yeah. We don't want the fullness of it. We want it. We got to tone it down. We got to dilute it a little bit.
I don't like that.
So
well, here's a great place to stop.
Great place.
I met Shane Claiborne.
Did you really?
I did.
Where at? Story time with the breakdown. What's your on here?
So met him at a youth conference.
Which one?
Oh gosh,
because I
either Dare to Share or Acquire the Fire.
Yeah.
Because those were the two big ones in student ministry world, and he was there. I don't think he was a speaker. I think he was just
there.
He was just there, and ran into him, which at that time was when I don't know that he actually ever started or left, but he had kind of gone super hippie phase. Like he was walking around with dreads.
Oh yeah.
Like
was he making his own clothes then?
He was.
Nice.
Yep. Very, very hippie kind of. And so that's what started the radical thought of like, this guy talks about loving Jesus in a way that I've never heard a pastor talk about loving Jesus. And it's like, dude's either on something or he's drank some Kool-Aid, and I don't know. But as I've gotten older, as I've, kind of walked through life and learned so many things, I'm going, oh no.
He caught it early. Like he understood. You know who one of his main professors was out at what is it, Eastern University or something like that, wherever he went to college.
Yeah.
His professor was Tony Campolo. And there
was, and
so you kind of, exactly.
Okay.
So like coming up under
I didn't know that.
getting, Tony Campo is a guy that he'll just tell you how it is. And you can see that a little bit in Shane quite a bit. I know they were close, and they've even done some stuff together, books and ministry. But yeah, didn't get the dreads.
You wish you had dreads.
I wish I did.
That's a whole nother breakdown.
That's a whole nother breakdown.
We've got years.
My
of
glorified body, 6-pack and dreads, right there.
Because that's
what the Lord.
Everybody wants.
And that's what the Lord cares about. Like, oh, okay, that's what you want.
There you go. Well, hey, that's the breakdown for you on this 11th episode.
11th. Are we going to keep saying that when we're up to like 297th?
I don't know. It's just fun.
All right,
I think it's more just so people know there's like 10 other episodes if they're new. Just go back and listen to. But
some people don't even know yet.
Yeah, they still don't know. I still have people. It's getting less and less, but I had somebody in church walk up to me and say,
"Oh my,
it was really nice that the breakdown happened without you. I really enjoyed it." And this is this person is a board member.
Give them a ticket to heaven.
And I went, so have I been replaced? Because that was the running joke. You and I were texting back and forth while I was on paternity leave. Like, I told your son, who like basically became me while I was gone, I was like, dude, I've been replaced. You've done everything. And he's like, nope, that's not true. But
at a fraction of the cost.
That's exactly right. Free is always good.
Costa Celeste got better quality. That's where we're going.
Definitely time to end the breakdown.
Whatever.
I'm gonna send right here on camera.
Here it is, little hamartiology.
Well, hey, there's a couple things that you could do to help us out, because honestly, we're not looking to make a name for ourselves or the podcast. We want to make a name for Jesus and make His kingdom known. And so, one of the easiest ways is if you enjoy the breakdown, send it to a family member or a friend. Rate and review the podcast on whatever podcasting platform you listen to. And if you watch on the YouTube channel and you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and drop us a little comment below. I try to respond to all of those as they come in.
Nice.
People say, hey, we enjoy listening to you, and I'm thanks.
Yeah, there we go.
I almost said thanks you too one time, and I was like, that's not how you respond.
Glad we're watching your podcast.
Your podcast is
You
awesome.
got stopped at Walmart, you said the other day.
I did. That's right. I got stopped at Walmart the other day, and somebody said, hey, I love what you guys are doing on the breakdown. And there was a part of me that I went, holy cow.
How do you even know? Like
this has turned into more than I ever dreamt of what it could be. Like, hey, we're just going to sit down and have a conversation, and maybe a few people that listen and are a part of our online campus would have a better connection, and maybe a few of our people. And it's like, this person goes to a completely different church.
Nice.
I know this person.
Oh, okay.
But I mean,
They're watching. They're listening.
Yeah, this is not someone that I have. I would consider us friends.
Not frenemies.
Really good acquaintances or friends.
There you go.
But this is not someone who's like fanning, like, oh, everything Jaron does. No, like, this is just someone who truly loves the Lord and likes what he told me from his mouth. I just love the content, and I love the quality.
That's cool.
So it was really cool.
Cool to hear.
So
keep sharing.
Do those things. It'd be great. Keep sharing. We're going to go do some other ministry related things that that's exactly right. More coffee. But we'll be back same time next week, same place next week. We'll see you guys later on. Bye.
Bye.